Attention, all you fishes in the sea. Welcome to the Fisch Bowl with Sam Fisch.
Sam Fisch, the Fisch Bowl here, Horror Realm Con 2026, with the infamous, fabulous Christine Elise.
Hi.
Thank you for taking the time to swim in the Fisch Bowl.
No problem.
We're diving in head first.
All
I
right.
hope the temperature is just right.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Obviously, number one, Child's Play.
Yeah?
Child's Play 2, Chucky the series.
Yeah?
The infamous Kyle.
Yeah?
What was it like working on the franchise and the return and everything?
It's fantastic. In 1989, when I got Child's Play 2, it was my first really big job. We shot most of it on the Universal lot, which is really exciting for me. Being on the old studio lots is really fun. And seeing Chucky come to life right in front of you is incredibly convincing and compelling and really fun.
Now, Chucky is one of my all-time. He's up there in probably my top favorite 80s slasher franchise. In my opinion, there is no other killer doll besides Brad Dourif as Chucky.
Right.
Were there any special stories with Don Mancini or people working on the set? Anything that was like?
No, I mean Don didn't get to spend much time on the set of the first one because there was a writer's strike, and so he wasn't allowed to be on the set. So he was really excited to be on the set of the second one. He took tons and tons of Super 8 movie behind the scenes footage, which he sort of leaks out little bits and pieces here and there. It's really funny to see. Everyone asked me what it's like to work with Brad Dourif. I never got to work with Brad. I did a rehearsal with him with our dialogue together, so he would know how I was going to read my lines, because he pre-records all his stuff before we start shooting, and they play it back on set for us. So we have his voice, but he's never there. So I never actually got to work with Brad, which sucks.
But you're going to be back at the Steel City Con actually next month with Brad, Don, and
I think Fiona has pulled out, so I think it's Brad and Don and me.
Okay. That should be amazing. I'm very excited for that. There's going to be a huge guest list there.
That's what I hear.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
What do you think of Pittsburgh so far? Is this your first time here? Or?
It's not. I drove through once. I was driving across country, and we took a big detour to come through Pittsburgh. It's a city. My stepfather's he's from Detroit, and he's a big fan of Pittsburgh too. I'm from Boston, so it's got a similar energy to Boston, sort of working class, industrial sort of city.
Right. I guess our football teams, though.
Yeah, I'm not a sports person. You're going to get nothing from me on that.
Nah, neither am I. I also want to say I really like your performance in Boiling Point.
Oh, thank you.
That's one of my favorite, I think, underrated Wesley Snipes and Dennis Hopper movies.
Yeah.
As well as Viggo Mortensen.
Viggo, I'm a huge Viggo fan, yeah. And I did that with Viggo. They wrote most of my part out. My stuff was going to be shot toward the end of the shooting schedule. And they were, of course, over budget and over, so they had to cut things, and the stuff they ended up cutting was most of my stuff. We didn't even shoot it. They just cut it before we even shot it. So Viggo requested that I be his wife in another movie with a Vanishing Point.
Yes.
And so Viggo requested me for that because he hadn't gotten a chance to work with me so much in Boiling Point. And I was happy to be on Boiling Point, not just because of Viggo, but because I'm forgetting his name. Is it James Harris, I think, who is a producer of all the Stanley Kubrick movies?
Yes.
And he produced The Killing, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. So to work with a film noir guy like that and Viggo was like a dream come true.
Awesome. Another favorite of mine, Bodysnatchers.
Yeah.
Late, great Stuart Gordon.
Yeah. Abel Ferrara.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's so many people in that movie, and I think it's one of my favorite interpretations of the body.
Yeah, it's a good one. I think it really holds up well. It's got a really, really creepy feel. We shot it in Alabama, in Selma, Alabama, on an abandoned army base, and I think it's the spookiness and the starkness. It was winter time. It's February, in Alabama. It's colder there than you think, and I think it really holds up.
Awesome. On the topic of horror movies and the Chucky franchise, what would you say one is your favorite horror film, or as the favorite Scream movies go, what's your favorite scary movie? And then what would you say is your favorite or most heartfelt Child's Play installment?
My favorite horror movie of all time is The Exorcist. I'm a fan of Cult of Chucky. Cult of Chucky is my favorite of the movies, but I actually think I prefer the series over the 7 films. I think the series is really solid. I'm a huge fan of the multiple Chuckies. I know that's a controversial topic. I really like the fact that he possesses Nika And I like those developments. I think it opens up story possibility immensely. And I also really enjoy seeing Chucky fight with Chucky. Chucky arguing with Chucky is always entertaining.
Awesome. Christine, thank you so much for taking the time to dive headfirst into the Fisch Bowl.
No problem.
We came up above water and we're riding the waves.
All right.
Thank
That's
you
great.
so much.
Thank you. Be
Awesome.
safe out there.
Thank you. Sam Fisch, the Fisch Bowl here at Horror Realm 2026 with Eduardo Sanchez, most famous for the Blair Witch Project. Thank you for taking the time to come to Pittsburgh and to swim in the bowl with me.
That's right, man. That's right. Let's do it.
Awesome. A lot of questions about the Blair Witch Project. How did that whole idea even come about? And what were some of the struggles making it, and then the end result with it becoming such a cult phenomenon that it literally inspired a whole new genre?
Yeah, it was my partner and I, Dan Myrick, came up with the idea. We were just we loved the old kind of fake documentaries. Mm-hmm. We loved this movie called Legend of Boggy Creek, and we just thought that those kinds of movies, and especially that show In Search Of, were it's just so creepy. The idea of it being like a documentary, even if it's not real,
right?
The idea of being a documentary was really scary for us. So we came up with the idea of the filmmakers disappearing, and then we sat on it for a while. We were trying to graduate from film school, and we had some other films that we were doing, and then in 96 or 96, we started producing it again. We got a couple of people involved that were very integral to the making of the movie, and started rolling. And the biggest challenge, as always, is raising the money.
Right.
We made the movie for barely anything, but even just getting the $20,000 was pulling teeth. But we got the money, and and it was a fairly smooth process. There was a lot of preconceptions that we had to kind of reevaluate as we went, and kind of change. It started off more as a straight documentary and ended up as just this found footage movie that, we had never seen anything like that before,
Right.
And we kind of let it guide us, and there's a lot of, there's some times when we were fighting against it, and it would just keep pushing us in a direction, and we kind of just gave in. And we learned a lot from the movie as far as directing. Sometimes, letting the movie go where it needs to go is kind of the best thing you can do as a director. And then, we got really lucky. Just the release, we had no idea what we were going to do. And we were kind of flabbergasted by just the reaction and just how it blew up worldwide. And, it kind of had become this thing, this kind of classic horror movie. We never thought it would be anything like that. So, it was cool. And then the whole idea of it being, one of the first found footage movies. It's just really cool to be, part of an inspiration for other filmmakers. There's so much talent out there, and I never thought I would be inspiring anybody.
Right.
So it's awesome to be in that position, and I just coming to places like this, to conventions, meeting people like you really do get a lot of that love, and I just really appreciate people, digging the work so much.
Absolutely. And I mean, what involvement did you have, or what's your thoughts on the two sequels that kind of
came out?
Yeah.
Book of Shadows was, probably the most difficult one for us because it was right after our movie. The company artists and really wanted another, sequel. Mm-hmm. We didn't want to do it. We wanted to kind of stay away from Blair Witch for a little while. And they eventually went with Joe Berlinger, and we liked Joe's movies. He was a documentary filmmaker, one of the best, in that era, and really great filmmaker. So we were really kind of enthusiastic about what he was going to do, and it just happened. I think what happened with Blair Witch Shadows was that they didn't give him enough time. They didn't give him enough creative license. They were just rushing. They had a release date before they even had a story.
Oh, okay.
And I think that, Joe, kind of did his best. But I feel like the movie. I mean, it's a cool movie, and I enjoy it. But it has very little to do with. It's kind of like a cousin of.
Yeah, I would say it's like a standalone kind of.
So it's like it's
Yeah.
And then the 2016 one was was really to me the true first true sequel in the timeline of Blair Witch. And I thought it was harrowing and freaking crazy and like just a really fun ride, claustrophobic, and I we worked with Simon and Adam on another project, and we were real good friends with them. So it was very friendly kind of situation where we really had a lot of faith in them, and I think they delivered a really crazy sequel. And I think that the only thing that I felt was lacking from that one was I wish that I told him, I told him this early on. I said, I wish that it would have gone beyond the house.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't like that it ended. I wanted to see like a third act somewhere else. Like take me elsewhere.
Right.
I thought it was very effective, very well done, and unfortunately didn't do as well as we wanted it to do. But it is what it is, and we haven't quite found the right mix, for a Blair Witch movie after the first one yet. So, we're hoping to get it right one day.
Awesome. And how much of like the witch, like, is that all fictional, or was there?
Fictional.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of it was taken from, just the local mythology. Also, I think like Salem Witch Trials.
Right.
That whole kind of injustice. The whole idea of like women being, victims of, male, whatever, just men in general. We felt like the mythology needed like kind of like an injustice, to like kind of spark the curse. So, we really relied heavily on kind of like the state looking at what happened to that. And the idea that was probably happening all over the place,
Right.
And then the rest of the mythology was just, we just wanted it to feel real. We didn't want to go too crazy, and we wanted the stories to be like, okay, that might have happened, or it might have been something else, but it's creepy that happened, but just believable enough to like think that maybe it really did exist. So, that was a lot of fun, because we needed Heather to go into the woods for a certain reason. So we had to create this myth.
Right.
And, I think we all, a lot of people, brought in their talents and brought in their skills and, writing the mythology. And it was very much a group effort, but, I thought it was just a cool exercise,
Awesome. Absolutely. And based on what you just said with like the kind of over delivery, like expectation of it, kind of the first one kind of going above and beyond like where you kind of thought it would kind of go just to start with. When you start seeing, spoofs of it with like Scary Movie right. Like is at that point, are you like thinking, I've really made it, like that's an honor, or is it like the opposite?
No. I mean, for me, the parody that like really kind of two parodies that I really love: the Scooby Doo Project, and then the Mad Magazine. Because I grew up, reading Mad and I never thought that my movie would be in Mad Magazine, and then the fact that we were like characters in the story. That was when I was like, oh my God, this is something out of the ordinary.
You're right.
But no, I mean, I love the parodies. It was an easy media to parody, and I do love that people were getting involved, and just we would get VHS tapes all the time of like just the shopping mall project, just all the kinds of different parodies that the fans were sending us. One time we had like a huge stack of VHS tapes of all the parodies, so it was cool. I mean, look, we had this idea, we executed this movie, and it kind of caught a lot of people's imaginations about like You know, so like the fact that people were making fun of it to me was, it's like the ultimate form of flattery. So
Awesome.
it was a wild ride, and I never expected any of that shit to happen. So it was cool when it was happening.
I have to say, when I saw Scary Movie 1 in theaters, and also the Wayans brothers, what a blessed, phenomenal family in general.
Oh, yeah.
Writers, directors, performers, comedians. Shout out to Marlon Wayans, who will be here, I believe, in September, again at the Improv doing stand-up.
Oh, cool.
I, for one, am very excited to see the Scary Movie movies back in the right hands for this new one they're supposed to come out. You know, the Wayans have their own flavor, you know, and the parody scene with Sherry O'Terry, who also, you know, it's part of her improvisation and execution, you know, of the scene. But
a lot of talent in that movie, for sure. Yeah, it was so much fun to see that too.
Awesome. And closer question: what are some of your favorite films and any other upcoming projects?
Favorite films for me, like of all time?
Of all time, yep.
I mean, like Star Wars, and I wouldn't be a filmmaker if it wasn't for Star Wars. Blade Runner, Do the Right Thing, like really changed my life. Pretty much Eddie Scorsese films, from the 70s, early 80s. Spielberg, of course, Star. As far as horror films, The Exorcist, The Shining. There's I could keep going. There's so many great films out there. And then right now I'm working on a movie called Entity that is about to start shooting sometime this spring in Atlanta. And my partner Greg Hale wrote it, and we're very excited about getting back. I've been doing television for over 10 years now, and it's my first feature in a long time. I'm really excited about it, and looking forward to getting back on the set and making a movie.
Fantastic, or I should say, fantastic.
Exactly.
Awesome. And I just had this is bouncing around in my head as we were talking, and having you being like, defining like a genre. The other person that I would say has like a signature trope for action movies that he started was Robert Rodriguez with Desperado, with the famous explode, right? And the famous explosion where like Antonio Banderas and Selma Hayek are walking in slow motion. You see like I saw like a behind the scenes where it was like he just needed like a quick a little extra something the pyrotechnist could do, and him being a filmmaker said, I can slow that down and have it be like his signature scene. And now like every action movie has to have like the scene where like the explosion in the background and running. And I'm like the comparisons, you were able to, essentially really be like the godfather of like spawning found footage movies. You wouldn't have really any major ones without the Blair Witch Project, and just a little comparison I wanted to throw in there.
Yeah, I mean, look, just any comparison with Robert Rodriguez is awesome. It's like, it's the same. Robert Miguel Mariachi's first film, that showed us that you don't need a big Hollywood crew, and you can kind of just be creative and do your own thing. And we definitely took the inspiration from that to do Blair Witch. And the fact that Blair Witch was the first of kind of established found footage movies, it's an honor, man. I mean, it's crazy to think that the movie that I did, that you all did, still inspires people. People still find it cool, and everybody has a story about it. And, again, I always feel blessed that I was a part of it, and happy to be still going and still kind of taking advantage of the Blair Witch juice.
Exactly. Well, Eduardo, thank you so much for taking the time to swim in the Fisch Bowl with me.
Yeah,
we dove in head first. We rose above the water.
Now we got to try out.
Riding the waves,
But flyers.
Exactly. All right. Thank you so much for taking the time to swim in the bowl with me. Hey there, all my fishes in the sea. Thanks for tuning into today's episode and for being a subscriber. Your continued listenership and support means the most and helps keep the show growing to deeper and deeper depths. I want to let all my guppies in the sea know the Fisch Bowl has now officially partnered with FastCustomShirts.com, where they're now selling custom Fisch Bowl t-shirts under their podcast and website section. Every t-shirt that's purchased helps and goes a long way to keep the show growing to deeper and deeper and higher depths. I also now have custom hats, beanies, handbags, pens, mouse pads, everything to make you look like the coolest looking fish in the sea, which you can DM me directly on Instagram at the Fisch Bowl 88 or on Facebook at just the Fisch Bowl, or you can friend request me, Sam Fish, directly and get yours today. Your continued listenership and support again means the most. It's the most important fishes that flock together. We are a school of fish and we keep the unit going. Let's all keep swimming upstream.